surprised me that Folau's the person who doesn't join in with a solidarity against discrimination. That is
No,
what I would say.
yeah, but again, it's the way he did it that took the attention away, and it just made it that it was his thing, and that's what I didn't like. And if did he have to do it that way? Could he have just not come out onto the field at that point? Would that have been a compromised position? I don't know.
Sure. Some people are suggesting other players didn't kneel. I'm not aware. I just think the key to this is understanding, and the piece that we talked about with the 3 players from Huddersfield helped with an understanding. So if Folau talks about it from his sort of religious standpoint or what have you, his reasons for it, it might help encourage understanding, and it might piss off some of the people who made him a hero. I don't know. His faith might not be their faith, and then that might then make more people angry. I hope it doesn't. What we should be looking for is greater sort of reconciliation than anger.
And it's important to understand as well that this isn't a mainstream Christian viewpoint. That we said it before when we were talking about his previous statements. The one of the key tenets of Christianity is around love thy neighbour, and it doesn't matter who they are. And there is 99% of Christians, and certainly the majority that I've ever met, would found that as abhorrent, if not even more so, that using that as a smokescreen and using that as a cover for his beliefs. So actually, it's really important to say that isn't a mainstream Christian view, and there are a lot of Christians who will be doing a lot of good work as part of their faith on this issue and many others.
Yeah. Now, in terms of doing a lot of good work, Folau didn't do any of that on the field, did he? He wasn't really a factor in this match, except for
that's the only time we were talking about
brief
him.
Chance.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the people who did make an impression on the field and talk a bit more about the game again, because the guys have sort of talked about it. Catalans look shit, Saints look great. Bit strange because before the break, it's probably the other way around. Saints looked rusty and Catalans looked like they were getting it all together. So who were the players that stood out for you and impressed you?
I think obviously Lachlan Coote. You've got to talk about him and start there. So much was sort of went through him or started off with him or something. He's got that ability, and he didn't seem to have missed a beat from Whereas, if anything, he looked like the rest had done him some good, and he just looked like he was really motoring and going well. I think James Bentley impressed me throughout the game. He got that nice try off a beautiful support run where he was just poaching like a enthusiastic puppy. He just leapt on the ball.
Oh, yeah, there was massive sort of powerful enthusiasm in that chase, wasn't there, for that ball?
Yeah. And again, that came from a great kick from Kurt. And then actually it was all set up from a lovely little shimmy from Theo Fage.
Yeah.
That created the space to allow that. But again, you know, and the first try to Lachlan Coote was really, I put it down as defensive error from Catalan more than anything. They didn't wrap up the ball properly, and they just allowed them that extra room to be able to score. But again, you know, when Saints were tested in defence, you know, they really stood up, and I bet a lot of that, you know, you talk that they lost Luke Thompson, but they've gained Jammer back, and it looks like he's never been away, to be honest. He was really leading, and you could sort of see he was being quite vocal and acting as a leader for that team as well.
Yeah, I'd slightly disagree with you on that first Coote try. I think it was fantastic play by the Saints, so much sort of speed and skill. Obviously Catalans could have defended it better, but it was play on play to get that point, and everything was so crisp, so quick, so polished, but it didn't feel forced and structured either. It was fantastic, sadly.
And it just felt relentless as well, didn't it? It felt like as Saints were at their best last season, it felt like that relentlessness that even when, you know, James Roby goes off, on comes Thingamy-Bob, Aaron Smith.
What's his name?
Aaron Smith.
No, from Bill and Ted. Which one is he? Is he Bill or Ted? He's Ted, isn't he? He is. He is. Yeah. But and also you mentioned Theo Farge. I actually think of this game had Johnny Lomax and James Maloney playing in. Theo Farge was the best halfback on display, I think, in this game, probably quite considerably. I think Zeb Taylor had some really great interventions, like we mentioned with the stats. Alex Walmsley didn't miss his partner in crime, did he? Gray brings something different to that role. Not quite the same as what the Thompson Walmsley momentum role was, but Walmsley didn't miss him in this game. Morgan Knowles was absolutely fantastic. Talk about someone with effort and enthusiasm. And Mark Percival, I think, him coming back from injury as well, another Saints player having that break, having that chance to refresh and fix up. He didn't take a backward step as he hasn't done in probably 3 or 4 years anyway. So they were, as unimpressive as Kyle Amor's hair was, Saints' performance was equally as impressive, really. And the Dragons didn't really have any answer to it. I mean, young little skinny boy Arthur Morg at the back, I mean, he didn't quite look like he belonged until he got the ball in his hand, and then you thought, this kid can play. But
he definitely impressed me going forward. I think, obviously, defensive, he's got something to learn. I think being in that role and as much of a fullback's role is about talking and guiding and calling your defenders round. So I think he's going to have that bit he's going to learn, and that's going to come to him over time. But I think certainly when he got the ball in hand and he was going forward, he did look impressive.
I think his positioning was quite good too at times. He seemed to find the ball pretty easily. Lange tried to get involved a lot, but I just don't rate him that highly. Bousquet had a couple of good runs, and then that was it. Garcia works really hard, but didn't really offer anything with the ball. The Dragons weren't abysmal across the board, but no one was consistently good throughout the game. Whereas for Saints, I look at that Saints side, and I probably think watching that game, Lomax was maybe their worst performer, and he wasn't bad.
No, he did very well. Exactly. I mean, that's as much of it, isn't it? That if Johnny Lomax is your worst performer, then you're doing something right, because he's always a decent stand-up player. Anyway, even his worst days are still better than the 2/3 of that Dragon side towards their best end.
Yeah, Coote got the 3 points in the Man of Steel and in the Albert Goldthorpe sort of races, so he stood out particularly, but I think so many players could have been in that 3-2-1 spots from the Saints side. So yeah, I mean, highlight moment for me was that try for Coote, but maybe something different for you.
For me, it was the Bentley. It was the one straight after. It was the Bentley try. Just the enthusiasm, the energy that came off that really got me back into it. I suppose one thing to call out, we can call it out now. We can call it out the second one. I don't think I missed scrums at all.
Do you know what? I just don't think I noticed. Game, and I'll tell you why I slightly missed him in this game, because our timings for making tea were off, so we kind of ate just into the second half. So I paused the game, and normally scrums are a good opportunity to catch up some time to the live broadcast, and you lost a lot of that opportunity. So that's my one drawback from those scrums. Otherwise, didn't even notice they didn't happen other than that. So for the first 42 minutes of gameplay, not a clue they weren't happening.
Yeah, and I think this presents a really good brand of rugby that it allows you to do. When you've got a team like that that's as skillful as the Saints, it just means you can showcase that excellent thing. And the repeat set thing, I do think the buzzer needs some work.
Yeah,
because it was a bit odd and it was a bit late.
Well, they missed it on the first 2 goes. They missed it.
Yeah. So it's something they need to think about going on.
Yep, but well done, Saints. Moving on to the second game, which was winner went top of this game. So it had something riding on it, even though we're early on in things. Teams are only playing 20 games now, aren't they? So it's important. Every game's more important in that race for the top 4 as well, rather than the top 6.
You could say every minute matters.
So it was crucial for both these sides, and Huddersfield went out well in the first half, but only led 14-6 at half time, and it finished 26-all at full time. Then Leeds grabbed the golden point winner. Robert Hicks was the referee, sporting his new beard. It's working.
It's quite beautiful, isn't it? I mean, it's on its way, but I think that's a good piece of work there. I quite enjoy that.
Yeah, it needs a few sort of trims through and bring it through, but it's going to be
needs a bit of conditioner in it. Yeah. Get some proper beard conditioner on that, and that'll look good.
In terms of the stats actually show a mixed picture. Huddersfield made 2 more breaks and 8 fewer handling errors, although Leeds made over 200 more metres at a better average gain and had nearly 5% better team tackle success rate. I don't know if that's because they didn't get anywhere near to Huddersfield in the first half to even tackle them or what, but Huddersfield dropped off bad in the second half there. Leeds also won big on the offload count, 17-4, although swings and roundabouts with that. It probably played a little bit into them making quite a few more errors as to them being more willing to throw the ball around. I suppose we saw that in the first game as well. Saints threw the ball around more and made more errors, so that's something to watch. But in terms of the individuals for Leeds, Reece Martin had a try assist in 188 metres and 3 successful offloads. Alex Mellor, who I thought was fantastic in this game, 1 try, we'll talk about that I'm sure, 46 tackles, 9 tackle busts and 111 metres, did everything really for his side against his former side. Cam Smith came off the bench and impressed with 46 tackles, 14 of which were marker tackles, 5 tackle busts and 4 offloads. And we'll give Luke Gale the last line for Leeds. 1 try assist, 5 tackle busts and 133 metres. Some people said he only popped up in extra time. For the losing side, some hard workers here. Mike Lawrence, 44 tackles, 13 of which were marker tackle, and of course he only missed 1. I mean, if he misses more than 1, he'll be embarrassed with himself, won't he, Michael Lawrence? Darnell McIntosh, 3 tries, 6 tackle busts, 144 metres, 2 clean breaks. Ashton Golding, making his debut for the Huddersfield side, was outstanding, I thought. 1 try assist and 128 metres. And Suia Matungi, 116 metres. Fan views. More on this one. I think it was the bigger game of the two.
Yeah. So starting off with Fatboy_Rob, who says, brilliant. I love seeing Leeds get stuffed at home. I had to switch off after 60 minutes, so I don't know the final score. My guess is Huds won by 40.
Mark W. said, Giants by far the better team, then players are forced from the field through injury and Leeds are gifted a try from the officials that hands them a win. Super League truly is back. Shall we unpack that?
Yeah. So
the try that he's referring to was the Mellor try, which was the penultimate try. So when that try was scored, the scores after the conversion were 26 points to 20 in favour of Huddersfield. Robert Hicks was fairly certain on that try, wasn't he? None of the camera angles we saw showed a clear grounding, but similarly the ball was lost from view on all of the camera angles we saw as well.
Yeah, it was a hard one to call, and watching it through live, you can sort of, at full speed, you can sort of understand the decision that was given.
It felt like a no try to me live. I didn't understand the decision live, but it's one of those ones where I kind of wish that the face-to-face contact or face-to-face proximity that would be involved to put the ref's cam on so it wasn't warm might have been useful, because we then could have seen what Hicks saw when he got right over on top of that and called it pretty confidently at that stage. But none of the camera angles we saw were able to show that. What I would say is, swings and roundabouts, Darnell McIntosh's first try was clearly from a forward pass. In my view, it was a yard and a half forward from Lee Gaskell. So swings and roundabouts in this. But yeah, it was a tough one to take for Huddersfield in that regard.
Yeah, I suppose on Gaskell, I mean, he was getting a lot of raps in the commentary, but I'm still
and one of his
unconvinced by him.
But of course, one of his former teammates or current opponents did not agree. That's another matter probably for the social media compliance team of the Rugby Football League. We'll leave that to them.
Yeah, and well, do we get into that one now as well?
I
The